हेलो गाइस, वेलकम बैक टू अ न्यू वीडियो। तो गाइस, जैसे कि जानते हो, आज है हमारे 75 डेज हैट चैलेंज का डे 12। तो आज मैं पढ़ने वाला हूँ क्लास 9 की टेक्स्ट बुक, अपनी क्लास 9 टेक्स्ट बुक साइंस का चैप्टर 6 टिश्यूज़, क्योंकि कल उसका एग्ज़ाम भी तो मतलब पढ़ना पड़ेगा ना। आपको बताया तो क्या होता है। तो गाइस, मैं पढ़ने वाला हूँ प्लांट टिश्यूज़ मेरिस्टेम। तो चलिए शुरू करते हैं। प्लांट टिश्यूज़ मेरिस्टेमेटिक टिश्यू. The growth of plant occurs only in certain specific regions. This is because the dividing tissue, also known as the meristematic tissue, is located only at these points. Depending on the region where they are present, meristematic tissue are classified as apical, lateral, and intercalary tissues. New cells produced by meristematic are initially like those of meristem itself, but as they grow and mature, their characteristics slowly change and they become differentiated as components of other tissues. Apical meristem is present at the growing tip of stems and roots and increases the length of the stem and the root. The girth of the stem or root increases due to lateral meristem cambium. Intercalary meristem seen in some plants is located near the node. Cells of meristematic tissue are very active. They have dense cytoplasm, thin cellulose, and prominent nuclei. They lack vacuoles. Can we think why they lack vacuoles? You might want to refer to the function of vacuoles in the previous chapter of cells. 6. Permanent tissues. What happened to the cells formed by meristematic tissues? They take up a specific role and lose the ability to divide. As a result, they form a permanent tissue. This process of taking a permanent tissue, permanent shape, size, and a function is called differentiation. Differentiation leads to the development of various types of permanent tissues. Simple permanent tissues. A few layers of cells beneath the epidermis are generally simple permanent tissues. Parenchyma is the most common simple permanent tissue. It consists of relatively unspecialized cells with thin walls. They are living cells. They are usually loosely arranged, thus large spaces between cells, intercellular spaces, are found in this tissue. This tissue generally stores food. In some situations, it contains chlorophyll and performs photosynthesis, and then it is called a parenchyma. In aquatic plants, large air cavities are present in parenchyma to help them float. Such parenchyma is called erenchyma. The flexibility of plant is due to another permanent tissue, the collenchyma. It allows bending of various parts of the plant like tendrils and stems of climbers without breaking it. It also provides mechanical support. We can find this tissue in leaf stalks below the epidermis. The cells of this tissue are living, elongated and irregularity thickened at the corners. This is very little intercellular space. And yet another type of permanent tissue is sclerenchyma. It is a tissue which makes the plant hard and stiff. We have seen the husk of the coconut. It is made up of sclerenchymatous tissue. The cells of this tissue are dead. They are long and narrow, as the walls are thickened due to lignin. Often these walls are so thick that there is no internal space inside the cell. This tissue is present in stem, around vascular bundles, in the veins of leaves, and in the hard covering of seed and nuts. It provides strength to the plant parts. What you observed is the outermost layer of cell, called epidermis. The epidermis is usually made of a single layer of cells. In some plants living in very dry habitats, the epidermis may be thicker since protecting against water loss is critical. The entire surface of plant has an outer covering epidermis. It protects all the parts of the plant. Epidermis cell on the aerial parts of the plant often secrete a waxy water resistant layer on their outer surface. This aids in protection against the loss of water, mechanical injury, and invasion by para- parasitic fungi. Since it has a protective layer role to play, cells of epidermal tissue form a continuous layer without intercellular spaces. Most epidermal cells are relatively flat. Often their outer and side walls are thicker than the inner wall. We can observe small pores here and there in the epidermis of the leaf. These pores are called stomata. Stomata are enclosed by two kidney-shaped cells called guard cells. They are necessary for exchanging gases with the atmosphere. Transpiration loss of water in the form of water vapor also takes place through stomata. Epidermal cells are the roots, whose function is water absorption. Common bear long hair-like parts that greatly increase the total absorptive surface area. In some plants like desert plants, epidermis has a thick waxy coating of cutin, chemical substance with waterproof quality, on its outer surface. Can we think a reason for this? Is the outer layer of the branch of a tree different from outer layer of the young stem? As plants grow, the outer protective tissue undergoes certain changes. A strip of secondary meristem located in the cortex form layer of the cell which constitute the cork. Cells of cork are dead and compactly arranged without intercellular spaces. They also have a substance called suberin in their walls that makes them impervious to gases and water. Complex permanent tissue. The different types of tissues we have discussed until now are all made of one type of cells which look like each other. Such tissues are called simple permanent tissue. Yet another type of permanent tissue is complex tissue. Complex tissue are made of more than one type of cells. All these cells coordinate to perform a common function. Xylem and phloem are examples of such complex tissues. They are both conducting tissues and constitute a vascular bundle. Vascular tissue is a distinctive feature of the complex plants, one that has made possible their survival in the terrestrial environment. In figure 6.3 showing a section of stem, can you see different types of cells in the vascular bundle? Xylem consists of tracheids, vessels, xylem, parenchyma, and xylem fiber. Tracheids and vessels have thick walls and many are dead cells when mature. Tracheids and vessels are tubular structures. This allows them to transfer water and mineral vertically. The parenchyma stores food. Xylem fibers are mainly supportive in function. Phloem is made up of 5 types of cells: sieve cells, sieve tubes, and companion cells, phloem fibers, and the phloem parenchyma. Sieve tubes are tubular cells with perforated walls. Phloem transports food from leaves to the other part of the plant. Except phloem fibers and other phloem cells are living cells. Animal tissues. When we breathe, we can actually feel the movement of our chest. How animal tissues? How do these body parts move? For this, we have specialized cells called muscle cells. This contraction and relaxation of these cells result in movement. During breathing, we inhale oxygen. Where does this oxygen go? It is absorbed in the lungs and then is transported to all the body cells through blood. Why would cells need oxygen? The functions of mitochondria we studied earlier provide a clue to this question. Blood flows and carries various substances from one part of the body to the other. For example, it carries oxygen and food to all cells. It also collects waste from all parts of the body and carries them to the liver and kidney for disposal. Blood and muscles are both examples of tissues found in our body. On the basis of the functions they perform, we can think of different types of animal tissue such as epithelial tissue, connective tissue, muscular tissue, and nervous tissue. Blood is a type of connective tissue and muscular form muscular tissue. Epithelial tissue. The covering of protective tissue in the animal body are epithelial tissue. Epithelium covers most organs and cavities within the body. It also forms a barrier to keep different body systems separate. The skin, the lining of the mouth, the lining of blood vessels, lung alveoli, and kidney tubules are all made of epithelial tissue. Epithelial tissue cells are tightly packed and form a continuous sheet. They have a small amount of cement material between them and almost no intercellular spaces. Obviously, anything entering or leaving the body must cross at least one layer of epithelium. As a result, the permeability of the cells of various epithelia plays an important role in regulating the exchange of materials between the body and the external environment, and also between different parts of the body. Regardless of the type of, all epithelium is usually separated from all the underlying tissue by an extracellular fibrous basement membrane. Different epithelia, figure 6.9, show different structures that correlate with their unique functions. For example, in cell lining blood vessels or lung alveoli, where transportation of substances occurs through a selectively permeable surface, there is a simple flat kind of epithelium. This is called the simple squamous epithelium. Squama means scales of skin. Simple squamous epithelial cells are extremely thin and flat and form a delicate lining. The esophagus and the lining of the mouth are also covered with squamous epithelium. The skin which protects the body is also made up of squamous epithelium. Skin epithelial cells are arranged in many layers to prevent wear and tears. Since they are arranged in a pattern of layers, the epithelium is called stratified squamous epithelium, where absorption and secretion occurs. As the inner lining of intestine, tall epithelial cells are present. This columnar, meaning pillar-like, epithelium facilitates movement across the epithelial barriers. In the respiratory tract, the columnar epithelial tissue also has cilia, which are hair-like projections on the outer surface of epithelial cells. This cilia can move, and their movement pushes the mucus forward to clear it. This type of epithelium is the ciliated columnar epithelium. Cuboidal epithelium with cube-shaped forms a lining of kidney tubules and ducts of salivary glands where it provides mechanical support. Epithelial cells often acquire additional specialization as gland cells, which can secrete substances as the epithelial surface. Sometimes a portion of the epithelial tissue folds inward and a multicellular gland is formed. This is glandular epithelium. Connective tissue. Blood is a type of connective tissue. Why could it be called connective tissue? A clue is provided in the introduction of this chapter. Now let us look at this type of tissue in some more detail. The cells of connective tissue are loosely spaced and embedded in any intercellular matrix. The matrix may be jelly-like fluid, dense or rigid. The nature of matrix differ in concordance with the function of the particular connective tissue. Blood has a fluid liquid matrix called plasma, in which red blood cells are corpuscles, IBCs, white blood cells, corpuscles, and platelets are suspended. The plasma contains protein, salts, and hormones. Blood flows and transports gases and digested food, hormones, and waste materials to different parts of the body. Bone is another example of connective tissue. It forms the framework that supports the body. It also anchors the muscles and supports the main organs of the body. It is a strong and non-flexible tissue What would be the advantage of these properties for bone functions? Bone cells are embedded in a hard matrix that is composed of calcium and phosphorus compounds. Two bones can be connected to each other by another type of connective tissue called the ligament. This tissue is very elastic. It is made of elastic. It has considerable strength. Ligament contains very little matrix and connect bones and bones. Tendons connect muscle to bones and that another type of connective tissue. Tendons are fibrous tissue with great strength but limited flexibility. Another type of connective tissue, cartilage, has widely spaced cells. The solid matrix is composed of proteins and sugars. Cartilage smoothens bone surfaces at joints and is also present in the nose, ear, trachea and larynx. We can fold the cartilage of the ear, but we cannot bend the bones in our arms. Think of how two tissues are different. Areolar connective tissue is found between the skin and muscles, around blood vessels and nerve in the bone marrow. It fills the space inside the cell organ, supporting internal organs and help in repair of tissues. Where are fats stored in our body? Fat storing adipose tissue is found below the skin and below internal organs. The cells of this tissue are filled with fat globules. Storage of fats also lets it act as an insulator. Muscular tissue consists of elongated cells, also called muscle fibers. This tissue is responsible for movement in our body. Muscles contain special proteins called contractile proteins, which contract and relax to cause movement. We can move some muscles by conscious will. Muscles present in our limbs move when we want them to and stop when we so decide. Such muscles are called voluntary muscles. These muscles are also called skeletal muscles as they are mostly attached to bones and help in body movement. Under the microscope, these muscles show alternate light and dark bands or striations when strained appropriately. As a result, they are also striated muscles. The cells of this tissue are long, cylindrical, unbranched and multinucleate, having many nuclei. The movement of food in the alimentary canal or the contractions and relaxation of blood vessels are involuntary movement. We cannot really start them or stop them simply by wanting to do so. Smooth muscles or involuntary muscles control such movements. They are also found in the iris of the eye, in uterus, in the bronchi of the lungs. The cells are long with pointed ends, spindle shaped, and uninucleate, having a single nucleus. They are also called unstriated muscle. Why would they be called that? The muscles of the heart show rhythmic contraction and relaxations throughout life. These involuntary muscles are called cardiac muscles. Heart muscle cells are cylindrical branches and uninucleate. Nervous tissue. All cells possess the ability to respond to stimuli. However, cells of the nervous tissue are highly specialized for being stimulated and then transmitted the stimulus very rapidly from one place to another within the body. The brain, spinal cord and nerves are all composed of the nervous tissue. The cells of this tissue are called nerve cells or neurons. A neuron consists of a cell body with a nucleus and cytoplasm, from which long thin hair-like parts arise. Usually each neuron has a single long part process called the axon and many short branched parts processed called dendrites. An individual nerve cell may be up to meter long. Many nerve fibers bound together by connective tissue made up of a nerve. The signal that passes along the nerve fiber is called a nerve impulse. Nerve impulse allow us to move our muscles when we want to. The functional combination of nerve and muscle tissue is fundamental to most animals. This combination enables animals to move rapidly in response to the stimuli. सो गाइस चैप्टर अपना हो चुका है एंड. अब अपन पढ़ेंगे व्हाट इसकी चैप्टर की समरी क्या है. Tissue is a group of cells similar in structure and functions. Plant tissues are of two main types, meristematic and permanent. Meristematic tissues is a dividing tissue present in the growing region of the plant. Permanent tissues are derived from meristematic tissue once they lose the ability to divide. They are classified as simple and complex tissue. Parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma are three types of simple tissue. Xylem and phloem are types of complex tissues. Animal tissues can be epithelial, connective, muscular and nervous tissue. Depending on shape and function, epithelial tissue is classified as squamous, cuboidal, columnar, ciliated and granular. The different types of connective tissue in our body include areolar tissue, adipose tissue, bone, tendon, ligament and cartilage and blood. Striated, unstriated and cardiac are three types of muscles and muscle tissues. Nervous tissue is made up of neurons that receive and conduct impulses. सो यस गाइस ये चैप्टर हो चुका है एंड. अगर आपको वीडियो पसंद है तो वीडियो को लाइक करना, शेयर करना, चैनल पे न्यू को चैनल को सब्सक्राइब करना. मिलते हैं आपसे न्यू वीडियो में. तब तक के लिए बाय बाय एंड स्टे ट्यून्ड.